My name is Jared James. If you aren't familiar with me, I'm best known as an entrepreneur that gets the unique opportunity to coach and train agents and brokers in the real estate world and speak at conferences in front of thousands of people. But it wasn't always that way for me. What separates me from so many others is that I've actually done everything that I want you to be able to do. For that reason, this is the place to come if you want to learn the strategies needed to succeed in today's marketplace. This is the Jared James Today Show.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 13 of the hashtag Jared James Today Show. Today we are going to talk about solving the three biggest problems within your business. I'm going to give you three specific steps to be able to do that. But as I always start off here, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. That's always helpful because you're going to get notified whenever I come out with new videos, which is quite often. Make sure you hit like on this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment. I love that. Ask questions. I'll answer those questions as well. As always, want to just say thank you to so many of you that have been watching. I think our last one already has over 20,000 views, and many of them have that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I remember getting remember the first video I did that got 100 views, and I was so excited. So it means the world to me, guys. Thanks so much. A lot going on right now. If you haven't signed up yet for the annual advance, January 31st, February 1st, San Antonio at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. We're doing our annual advance, 2 days, packed of info, value, where we're really going to be showing you how to actually build a company, not just be a solopreneur. And that is something we'll probably talk about in today's episode, okay? So today's episode, I want to talk about solving the three biggest problems in your real estate business. And for any of you that follow me on social, if you're not there yet, go to connectwithjared.com. You can connect on all the places: Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of these different things. You know that right now I am in the middle, or I really want to say towards the end, but I still have a bunch of trips left, of convention season. And one of the really cool things about convention season is that I get to interact with so many of you. I'm not locked up in an office. I'm not kind of sitting behind a camera or whatever. I'm actually getting the chance to meet with you guys and talk to you guys. And a lot of that actually contributes to the things that I'll do on this show, the episodes I'll do. And one of the things that I'm seeing from a lot of people lately is that people are really hung up on hustle, hustle, hustle. Like, people are hustling their butts off and they're working their tails off. But in many cases, they're either not getting the results that they want, or what I see a lot of times, they're not getting the results that they should be based on their level of potential. And a lot of that comes from the fact that sometimes, you guys have heard me say before, many of us are too busy to actually be productive. We never actually take the time to say, what's going on in my business? Like, what do I need to solve? What do I need to do different? Because there's always something that's coming up that we have to fix, or someone we have to take care of, and it's stopping us from actually fixing our business and making it better. And for many of us, it's like a placebo effect. We think because we're paying the bills, or because we're considered a top producer, that we must be doing everything right, and yet we can always get better. So I want to talk to you about solving the three biggest problems in your business. The thing I want you to understand as well, and the reason why I'm shooting this right now, is that we're about to head into the new year. And I'm a big fan of taking advantage of your own emotion. You know, it's guys like me at the end of events, a lot of times people buy our coaching or they do the different things, and critics will say, well, you're taking advantage or whatever. And my whole thing is, you need to start taking advantage of your emotion. So this is the time of the year where generally people get remotivated. People say, I'm finally going to lose weight. I'm finally going to do what I need to do in my business. Whatever it happens, I'm finally going to get my relationship straight. Take advantage of the fact that we're heading into New Year, and this is a time of the year where generally people are more apt to become emotional about it and really take advantage of the fact that it's time to change, and you have the ability now, and you have the motivation to change. And this is when you really want to look at your business and say, hey, what are the three things? You know, I find that people get really frustrated in their businesses, but they don't do anything. You know, if you were to actually pull someone aside and say, hey, what's going on in your business? What's your biggest challenge? They can tell you immediately. But we're not actually doing anything because, again, we're too busy to actually be productive. And frustration without action to actually fix that frustration ultimately leads to stress. And we did another episode where we talked about the effects of chronic stress on people's business and what it does to them, and what it does to them psychologically, and what it does to them from the perspective of disease and being tired and all of these other things. Stress is not something you want to be dealing with, and in many cases we're bringing it on ourselves because we're not taking action to ultimately solve the problems that are going on within our business. So, with that being said, I want to talk about 3 things that we can do to help us solve those 3 biggest problems in our business and figure out, by the way, some of you are probably waiting right now going like, what are the 3 biggest problems? It's different for everyone. You know, I did a topic recently at an event where I talked about the blueprint, and I told these people, the blueprint for you is different than the blueprint for you, which is different than the blueprint for you, because everybody wants different things. And the problems are the exact same way. So we're going to go over how you figure out what that is, okay? Step 1, though, it's almost like overcoming a problem. You have to actually admit there is a problem. Step 1 is that you have to understand that the job of any good business is actually to create new problems, okay? That is something I want you to remember. I just kind of said that quickly, but I want you to remember that. The job of any good business is to create new problems. And that takes a shift in the way we think, because we think that we're supposed to solve problems and not have them, but it's not true. It's to create new problems, meaning when you start in our industry, you have a certain set of problems. And the problem may be that you don't know how to create a transaction, or you don't know what to say at an appointment, or you don't know how to do a certain thing on a contract. That is a certain level of problems. But then the hope for any good growing business is that you create new problems. You solve that problem, and now you move on, and you have the problem of, I don't know how to hire an assistant. I don't know how to train an assistant. I don't know how to, and you start having that problem. And eventually you graduate to a new set of problems once you fix that set, and now you're going, how does payroll work? And and there's all these new sets of problems. Understand, problems never go away. The goal of any good business is to create new problems. The way that you create new problems is by solving the other ones and moving to a different level of problems. The most successful people on this planet, Bill Gates, has a different set of problems than you do, unless you're Bill Gates right now watching. Everybody has a different set of problems, but the idea is to create new problems. So that's step 1. You need to figure that part out and really come to the realization problems are always going to be there. But what we don't want is 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're still dealing with the same problems, because that's what I see from so many people. I ran into someone 2 days ago that I also ran into 5 years ago. They had the exact set of problems they had 5 years ago. That is not growth. New problems, okay? Second step. This is where you actually define what those 3 biggest problems are, okay? So first step, understand that your job is to create new problems. Second step, let's now define what are the 3 biggest problems in your business. What ultimately has to be solved? How do you do that? That's really the question, right? That's what many of you are waiting for me to tell you what your problems are. This is how you do it. You ask yourself questions. What are you doing at 11 o'clock at night? Like, do you have a problem with delegation? Do you have a problem with control? Like, I know the types of people who are in this industry. You're generally type A. You're generally very controlling. You're generally the person who says, you know, they're not going to do it right. And what you're really saying is they're not going to do it the way that I do it. And what I always try to tell people is it doesn't matter if they're doing it the way you do it. The point is it's getting done and you didn't have anything to do with it. That is fabulous. Understand how fabulous that is. And so ask yourself questions like, what am I doing at 11 o'clock at night? Because if you're having a delegation issue or getting people to help you, you can usually tell the things that you shouldn't be doing by the things you're doing at 11 o'clock at night. Is there a bunch of paperwork? Are there things? If you're doing something at 11 o'clock at night, what that ultimately means is that it wasn't important enough for you to do during the day. It wasn't a fire you had to put out while everyone else was up, but it still had to get done. So you're doing it while everybody's sleeping. That's how you start to find, what am I not delegating? What do I need to get better at? What are you doing at 11 o'clock at night? Another way you can do it is, what am I wasting time on? Like, we think, this is what people do. We have created a parallel between amount of time spent with how much money we make. That's what we do. Work hard, put in 20 hours a day, and we've created this parallel between how much time you spend working and how much money you make. And what I want to do right now is completely dispel that and get you to understand that in the industry you're in, those two have absolutely nothing to do with each other. If you were to actually audit your time and start really looking for the problems in your business and what are you really wasting time on and what are you really, Go look at, in our coaching program, we talk about the best uses of time. What are your butts? What are the things that actually bring you business? What are the things that actually bring you results? If you were to actually go and audit your business over the last 12 months and say, where did business actually come from? Where did it actually come from? What you're going to find is that it's a very small amount of things in a very small window of time that actually creates the revenue for your business. That's the truth. But because we create this parallel between how much time you spend compared to how much money you make, what we think is, well, you know, I had to go do this listing and I had to meet with them several times and I had to keep calling them over and over again and then I had to keep getting feedback from them and then I had to keep negotiating and you keep going through all these processes of what made you that deal. But the truth of the matter is that the money was made on that the moment you went and did the listing appointment and they signed the agreement. A lot of the other things that go on are things that you did not have to be a part of. But because we have the mindset of solopreneur, where we're doing absolutely everything ourselves, we kind of get caught up in the idea of thinking that all of this is what made us money, and yet all of that is not what made you money. It was this very specific point in time, this very specific thing you did that ultimately created the money for you. And so you need to look at, what am I wasting time on? What actually brings me revenue? What are the things on a regular basis I'm doing every single day that aren't bringing me any return, aren't making me any money, aren't doing anything like that, but I am associating them with the transaction or associating them with profit that actually aren't profitable to me? Where can I start to delegate? Where can I start to say, I need to become a profitable business, not just a solopreneur? You know, there are many different schools of thought in this industry, and I think the industry is actually going to a completely different place right now than it is currently. And there are many different schools of thought, and people are for teams and they're not for teams, and my personal thought process, and hear me out on this, is that everybody belongs in some kind of a structure of a team, meaning that we all have different definitions of that. That doesn't mean that if you're watching me right now, your goal should be to have 50 agents and have all that. That may be one structure for one person, but it may not be for you. But even if down the road it's just you, an assistant, and a marketing person, that's a team. But the idea eventually, if you're actually going to run a business, is that your goal 5-10 years from now is not to continue to be a solopreneur, it's to build a company that actually brings in predictable revenue that doesn't just rely on you. That's really where everybody should be thinking on one level or another. And that really takes you sitting down, asking the right questions. You've heard me say a million times, the quality of your answers will always be determined by the quality of the questions you ask. Sitting down with yourself and saying, okay, what actually brought me revenue? How am I going to spend time on those things? Do you know how many messages I get from people telling me that they're going crazy? And I sent out an email 2 days ago to our database saying, I just want to give you value. I'm going on a plane. I got 5 hours. Ask me questions. I'll answer. Do you know how many I got from people telling me that their business is going great? They're going crazy right now. They don't have enough time. They're having trouble with balance. And I know that if I were to sit down with those people and audit their time, there is so much waste that they think because it involves their business, it's not waste. And yet the truth of the matter is they're spending times on things that they should not be spending one more minute on. But they're never stopping and actually asking themselves the questions and looking for where the waste is. And then when they look around them at all the top producers around them, all of them are doing the exact same thing, so they just think they're on the right track. But something internally knows that it's not true, and they're getting frustrated, and they're getting stressed, and they know there's a better way, they just don't know how to get there. I guess that's why we have a coaching department. That's called job security. That's kind of a good thing, okay? So, something for you to think about. Number 3, the third step in all of this, figuring out your 3 biggest problems, and solving those problems is do something different! Exclamation point. Do something different. I say all the time, I talk about leveraging pattern disrupt, only usually when I talk about pattern disrupt, I'm talking about lead conversion, and I'm talking about saying something that throws them off guard, puts their guards down and makes them respond and doesn't allow them to stay in their same pattern. But pattern disrupt actually applies to so many different things than just lead conversion. Pattern disrupt also applies to you and solving your 3 biggest problems. Because what happens is that when we stay in the same patterns, in the same monotony, in the same every single day, we don't ever do anything different. Which is how we start to build bad patterns. So how do you change that? Pattern disrupt. You have to do something that's going to shake you up, that's different, that puts you in a place, puts you in a location, puts you in something that makes you get out of your normal train of thought. Think of it like this, guys. How many of you have ever driven home the exact same way every single day, and you look back and you go, I don't even remember the last 5 minutes? Like, I've been driving a car. It's like a missile. I have been driving a car on roads with people on the side of the roads, other cars on the road, and I don't even remember turning the car to go down this street. How many of you have ever had that thought process? You know it's true. It's because you get so stuck in a pattern that your mind just goes into autopilot. You don't even think about where you are. You don't think about what you're doing. And what you sure as heck don't do is do anything different because you've been so programmed. Where to turn, when to do it, how to do it. Just like that. You'll never change. But all of a sudden, when you're in a new place you've never been, you all of a sudden now make the turns when you need to make them. You think about where you are. You think about what store you're supposed to turn at. You think about all of these other kinds of things that you never thought about before because it's new. It's pattern disrupt. This is no different than what has to happen within your business. You've got to do something different. You've got to actually create time blocking where you stop and you think about your business and you think about what has to change and you think about you've got to actually take the time to do it where it's different in your pattern. You've got to do things like join coaching that forces you to sit down with somebody and go over your business and what needs to be done and hold you accountable to the different tasks and such that you were going to do, the systems you were going to create. You've got to actually come to an advance where you leave your area and you go somewhere for 2 days and you sit under training and you set up your 2017 and you look at things in a different way and you're surrounded by people who are thinking the same way, where you're outside of your normal atmosphere, where you just turn the car and don't even think about turning it, and you just keep on doing things at 11 o'clock at night that you should never have been doing, but it's just normal and so you don't even think about it. You ultimately have to leverage pattern disrupt even within yourself and within your business. I was in a hotel 2 nights ago, and in my house, I lay in the bed, I don't even think about it, I'm on the pillow, I fall asleep, it's nothing. In the hotel, I'm trying to find the right position, the pillow doesn't feel right, everything's off. Why? Because my pattern was disrupted. Now that's a negative idea of pattern disrupt, but that same principle works when you're talking about your business, when you're talking about your business planning, when you're talking about your patterns of every day. You've got to leverage that pattern disrupt, okay? If you're watching this, guys, and you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Make sure you subscribe. Okay, I love it when people do that kind of stuff. Go to connectwithjared.com. Send me a message on Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram or any of these places. Let me know that you're enjoying what it is that we're doing. Let me know if you have questions, guys. I take time and do nothing but answer questions for people. It's very time consuming, but I think it's also very worth it. And then for many of you guys, we're going to have a free training coming out soon. Details will come soon, so hopefully you're in our database at jaredjamestoday.com. We'll be coming out with a webinar for business planning for the new year, steps and that kind of stuff, much more detailed than we do right now. Many of you also need to be considering going to our annual advance, which is going to be in San Antonio, January 31st, February 1st, 2 days of intensive training. 90% of the training is me, where I'm going to be there with you, sitting classroom style, going over your business, going over what needs to change, talking about how to actually do it, hearing from people in our programs that are doing it right now, where they were, whether it's where you are right now or somewhere else, and how to get where it is they need to go. So if you want to check that out, just click right here. It's at jaredjamestoday.com/annual advance. You can get your tickets there. If you have questions for us, just send them in. But some of you need to do things that are different than what you're doing now. You need to make a commitment that isn't a commitment you would usually do, because that's going to help you change as well. Do something that scares you a little bit. That's always a good idea, okay? So as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. It means the world to me. Hopefully I'll run into you guys at a live event very soon. Talk to you guys soon. Hey there, you, and I am talking to you in particular, person that made it to the end of my video. It means the world to me. But if you made it to the end, I'm hoping that you'll take a second and subscribe right here. Make sure you share that with all your friends, by the way. They're in real estate, sales, entrepreneurial, whatever it happens to be. By the way, if you're looking for a speaker for your upcoming event, click right here to get some more information. And as usual, if you have a question you want me to personally respond, just connect on social. You can click right over here and see all the platforms I'm on. I hope to hear from you soon. Have a great one.